Hello everyone. This week we kicked off a new series of lessons dedicated to helping you avoid some common mistakes that I've noticed you make in English. So as you all know, I teach business English to students from around the world, and I have started this series of lessons to share some common mistakes that most of my students are making in areas such as vocabulary, grammar, and pronunciation. So these are going to be quick 10 to 15-minute lessons that will give you the opportunity to learn from other people's mistakes and improve those areas where slip-ups tend to happen. If you feel comfortable enough, feel free to start sharing how you were able to correct some of your own mistakes. This way, we can start sharing ideas and opinions, and why not even create a community for discussing different kinds of English topics? Okay, so let's dive into today's lesson. Today we will focus on how to sound polite, inclusive, and respectful when you're in the right place. So in English, especially if you're using English at work, you need to avoid outdated and offensive language and understand the nuances of gender-neutral language and the woke culture. In business, language is everything. Using the wrong words can unintentionally offend people and even block you from receiving work opportunities. So let's dive into the language that you need to ensure that your communication is politically correct, as we say, and that you avoid 4 big mistakes. Let's start with mistake number 1, gendered language, the he versus she dilemma. In the past, English language structures often used gendered language. Words like he were used to refer to everyone regardless of their gender. This practice has become outdated, and today many people find this language offensive and inaccurate. So in your business communication, gender-neutral language is not just a trend, but a necessity. Let's break it down because I know that this can be confusing. Many students ask me, for example, what pronoun to use if they're unsure of someone's gender. For example, let's say that you are writing an email or making a reference to someone whose gender you don't know. Which pronoun should you use? And why is this so important? Well, today there are so many women working in companies that using he rather than she can create discomfort and even make people feel excluded. Fortunately, we have simple solutions to address this problem. For example, when writing business communications, using gender-neutral pronouns such as they can solve the problem entirely. To make this more clear, let's look at an example. Let's identify how we can replace the he or she dilemma. So in the past, when we were writing an email, for instance, we would write a sentence suggesting that the manager said that he or she should submit their report by Friday. Now, if we didn't know who he or she is, if we didn't know if this person was a man or a woman, we would probably say the manager said that he should submit the report by Friday, wouldn't we? However, to avoid this confusion, here are some better options. You could write, the manager said that they should submit the report by Friday, so generally speaking, or that each employee should submit the report by Friday, or that everyone should submit the report by Friday. Let's look at another example. Instead of saying the manager said he would attend the meeting, if we don't know whether the manager is a man or a woman, we could say the manager said they would attend the meeting. Or instead of saying everyone must submit his or her report by Friday, as we said before, you can say everyone must submit their report by Friday. Here's another one. The employee should complete his or her work by the deadline. Why not say should complete their work by the deadline? A person in this role will likely find his or her schedule very tight, or their schedule very tight. Here are a couple of tips that you can remember when working in English at work. So, gender-neutral job titles. Many job titles are traditionally gendered, like the word, for example, chairman, salesman, fireman. It's important to replace these with gender-neutral alternatives, and there are words out there. So instead of chairman, we now say chairperson. Instead of salesman, we say salesperson. And instead of fireman, we say firefighter. For example, the chairperson will speak at the event instead of the chairman will speak at the event. And number 2, avoid gender assumptions in communication. When referring to groups of people, instead of saying ladies and gentlemen or guys, choose more neutral terms like everyone, team, or all. You could say, everyone, welcome to the meeting. Let's look at mistake number 2. It's a mistake to use words that are considered offensive or outdated. Language evolves over time, and words that may have been acceptable in the past can become offensive or outdated. Using the wrong terms, especially in a professional setting, can send the wrong message, or it can offend your colleagues. Let's look at some common terms to avoid and some better alternatives that you could use. Number 1 is the word manpower. This word historically referred to the work done by male employees, but today it's considered outdated because it excludes women and non-binary people. Better alternatives are workforce, staff, or employees. So you could say we need more employees or more workers to finish the project on time instead of manpower. Number 2, crazy or insane. Words like this are often used to describe things that are unexpected or unusual, but they can be harmful to people with mental health conditions. These words can perpetuate a stigma around mental illness. Better alternatives are words like unusual, unexpected, surprising. So instead of saying that proposal is insane, you could say that proposal is very surprising. Also, the words handicapped or disabled. While handicapped is really wrong, disabled was once the common term to describe people with disabilities. But today, the more appropriate use of term is person-first language. This emphasizes the individual rather than the condition. So you could say, he is a person with a disability, a person with visual impairment, and so on. What about the word guys when referring to a group of people? This is very common. So why is it outdated? Because guys may seem friendly and casual, but it's also gendered, as mentioned above. Not only does it refer to men, but it doesn't reflect the diversity in the modern workspace. Better alternatives could be everyone. So you could say, hi everyone, or hi team, hi folks, or just refer to them as colleagues. And finally, the word mankind, which assumes that every person on this planet is a man. So better words could be humankind or humanity or just people. For example, these innovations could benefit humankind and open new opportunities for our business. So here are 2 tips I want you to remember. Tip number 1, use inclusive terminology for any group, including disabled people, people of color, the LGBTQ+ individuals. Always use language that's respectful and inclusive. It's important to use them because they empower people and show respect for their identity. And number 2, be aware of cultural sensitivities, because at work, you're going to be having individuals from different cultural backgrounds. Understanding and respecting that the terms are different in different cultures can ensure that your language remains sensitive. Mistake number 3, do not use stereotyping language. Another crucial aspect of sounding politically correct is to avoid stereotypes. Stereotyping language assumes that certain traits or characteristics are true for everyone in a particular group. In business, this is not only unprofessional, but it's also very offensive. So what is stereotyping? Stereotyping is when you make broad assumptions about someone based on their race, their gender, their age, or other characteristics without knowing that individual. These assumptions can lead to harmful generalizations and contribute to biased or a prejudiced environment. Here are some examples of stereotyping. Look at the sentence. Women are more emotional in business meetings. This statement generalizes women as being emotional, which is not only untrue but also unfair to both men and women. A better alternative would be everyone responds differently in business meetings, but it's important to maintain professionalism. Look at this one. Older workers are less adaptable to new technologies. This stereotype unfairly assumes that older workers lack the skills to use new technologies, whereas a better alternative would be some workers may need additional training with new technology regardless of age. But you can also find generalizations about millennials as well. Millennials don't know how to work hard. This stereotype is not only untrue again, but also dismissive of an entire generation's work ethic. Every generation has different strengths, but we all bring valuable skills to the table is the best alternative. All immigrants are struggling with language barriers. Why is this problematic? This is an unfair assumption that generalizes the immigrant experience. How about saying some immigrants may face language challenges, but many are highly skilled and adaptable? But there are also stereotypes for men as well. I hear some people say men don't care about work-life balance, for example. And this one is problematic because it assumes that only women are concerned with balancing their work and their life. You could say everyone values work-life balance differently, regardless of gender. So why don't we remember 2 tips? Number 1, focus on individual strengths. Instead of making assumptions based on age, gender, or ethnicity, focus on the individual's skills, their qualifications and their experience. Instead of assuming that a woman, for example, is better at multitasking, acknowledge that some people are better at managing multiple tasks at once, regardless of gender. And also, avoid making generalizations. In the workplace, you likely encounter individuals from different generations, for example, from baby boomers to Generation Z. Avoid making generational generalizations and instead focus on collaboration, on shared goals, and of course on mutual respect. And the last mistake is do not use ableist language. Ableism is discrimination against people with disabilities. Language that mocks or stigmatizes disabilities, even if it's unintentional, can be harmful. What is ableist language? Ableist language includes words or phrases that can make light of or diminish people with disabilities. It can be subtle, but it's important to recognize and avoid this language. So let me give you some examples. That's so crazy. The word crazy, as we said before, is often used to casually describe something unusual, but people with mental health conditions will find it offensive. A better alternative would be, that is unexpected, or that is unusual. A second example that we use a lot is he's lame. This term is rooted in a disabled-related stereotype. Using it to describe something unhelpful or ineffective is offensive. A better alternative could be he's unproductive or he's inefficient. Another term, she's a spaz. Referring to someone as a spaz is an insult, and it's rooted in ableism. It's derived from the word spastic, a term that's used to describe people with physical disabilities. A better alternative is she's disorganized or she's having difficulty. And here's some practical tips. Number 1, think before you speak. Try to eliminate casual ableist language from your vocabulary. So before you speak, ask yourself, does this word or phrase unintentionally exclude, insult, or stereotype someone? And tip number 2, be an ally. If you hear someone using ableist language, don't be afraid to politely point it out and suggest a better alternative. Before I leave you for today, I can't stress enough the importance of creating a woke culture in business. Woke culture refers to an awareness of social injustices and inequalities, particularly in relation to race, gender, and identity. It emphasizes the importance of understanding and addressing issues like systemic racism, sexism, and privilege. In the business world, woke culture promotes inclusivity and diversity and respect for all individuals. Remember, language evolves, and so should your approach to communication. By staying aware and adapting your language, you can contribute to a more respectful and supportive work environment for everyone. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like and subscribe button and comment below with your own thoughts on any topics you'd like me to explore further. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.